T60, 70, or 80, when the steps begin to slow and the body yields to time's gentle weight, it is not a sign of fading, but of transformation. Movement does not end when walking becomes less. It merely shifts its rhythm. The soul still dances, the mind still journeys, and the spirit still listens for sacred instructions hidden in silence. In this season, life invites us not to chase what once was, but to embrace what now is, a deeper unfolding, where strength is measured not in miles walked, but in wisdom carried. Perhaps the slowing is not loss, but divine recalibration, a call to realign with what matters most. What if, instead of grieving each step less taken, we discovered the sacred power of stillness, intention, and quiet strength? Let us explore 5 things you can begin today, not as substitutes, but as sacred rituals in the unfolding art of aging. Because even in stillness, you are being carried. There comes a time in a person's journey, often in the quieting seasons of life, when the external movement slows and the internal voice grows louder. You no longer rush from one destination to another. The world's urgency no longer pulses through your feet. And in that stillness, something sacred begins to surface. You begin to see, not just with your eyes, but with the soul that has been waiting all these years to be heard. This is not the kind of vision you gain through effort or ambition. It's the kind of sight born from enduring, through heartbreaks, through silence, through decades of misunderstanding, and through the sacred fatigue of simply remaining. When your steps become fewer, your gaze becomes deeper. You see things others miss, not because you're trying harder, but because you've stopped trying to prove. And here is the divine mystery. When the noise of striving fades, the signal of spirit becomes undeniable. Where you once rushed to be seen, now you observe. Where you once fought to be understood, now you understand. You begin to notice the subtle tremors of dishonesty in someone's tone, the fragile smiles hiding years of pain, the truths unspoken, trembling beneath every shallow conversation. This gift, this piercing awareness, is not weakness. It is the refinement of decades, the tempering of ego, the reward for having walked long enough to learn that much of what we chase is dust. The world says, keep up, but heaven whispers, slow down and look. The relationships in your life now take on a different gravity. You no longer tolerate surface-level talk dressed in spiritual language. You desire conversations that touch eternity, dialogues that leave both hearts exposed and changed. You are done performing. You are done pretending. You are done keeping peace at the cost of your soul. The younger may run in circles chasing admiration, but you, if you are walking less, are being called into stillness. And stillness is not emptiness. It is presence magnified. It is alignment with the eternal now. The present moment becomes pregnant with divine movement when you no longer need to fill it with your own. In this sacred pause, you begin to see who people really are, not who they say they are. This is vision. This is discernment. And it is not taught, it is given. It is the fruit of choosing silence when you could have spoken, of choosing peace when you could have retaliated, of choosing patience when you wanted to be understood. The heavens do not overlook such restraint. They reward it with clarity. That is why now, in this season, you must protect your presence. Do not cast your pearls before those who mock depth. Do not share your wisdom where it will only be consumed and not honored. You have paid too high a price for your peace to let it be traded for shallow company. There is power in the gaze of a person who has suffered well. There is thunder in the silence of someone who has seen too much to speak prematurely. And your relationships will either rise to meet this holy stillness, or they will dissolve in its weight. That is not rejection. That is refinement. Let your presence reveal what their words conceal. Let your quiet become the test. Let your slowness become the filter. Because what cannot sit in stillness with you was never sent to stand with you in the storm. What cannot meet your gaze without flinching cannot carry your name without compromise. This is your season not to walk faster, but to walk deeper. And as you do, expect people to feel unsettled. The world is conditioned to admire noise. But when you become the quiet, the unwavering, peaceful, anchored quiet, you disturb every unresolved storm around you. Let it be. Do not diminish your stillness to make others comfortable in their chaos. You were not sent to conform. You were called to reveal. And so, to you who may be walking less, understand this. The world may interpret your slowing down as decline, but in the spirit, it is ascent. You are rising, not in steps, but in stature, not in speed, but in sight. You are no longer merely moving through life. You are witnessing it, interpreting it, and guiding others through the wilderness with your gaze alone. So lift your head, rest your feet, open your eyes. The journey was never just about the miles. It was always about what you would see once you slowed down. And now, you see, let no one convince you otherwise. There is a moment in life when the body grows quieter, but the spirit begins to speak more clearly. You find yourself doing less, perhaps walking less, moving more slowly, and yet something sacred stirs beneath the surface. The world may interpret this as a slowing down, but heaven sees it differently. What looks like limitation in the natural is often expansion in the spiritual. The reduction of physical motion is not the absence of purpose. It is the divine invitation to walk differently. Because there are walks that require feet, and there are walks that require faith. You may not be moving quickly across the earth, but your soul is moving swiftly in understanding, in revelation, in eternal alignment. And that inner journey, though invisible to the eyes of man, is known and recorded by the eyes of God. This is the walk that pleases Him, not the hurried striving of outward strength, but the quiet, steady rhythm of a surrendered heart. Let that sink in. There's something deeply divine about the pace of wisdom. The world may race ahead with its noise and agendas, but wisdom, true God-breathed wisdom, moves slowly like a river carving through rock, unstoppable but unhurried, persistent yet peaceful. And perhaps that's where you find yourself now, not walking less, but walking slower, more deliberately, more intentionally. And it's in this slowing down that you begin to notice what you once rushed past. The warmth in a glance, the subtle ache in someone's voice, the unspoken needs of those around you. This is not weakness, it is awareness. It is presence, and presence is power. The world honors productivity, but heaven honors presence. It was not in the whirlwind, nor the fire, nor the earthquake that the prophet heard God. It was in the still, small voice, and some voices can only be heard when the external motion ceases. That's why this season matters so much. It's not just about aging. It's about awakening. The outer man may slow, but the inner man is being renewed day by day. And in that renewal, you are learning to walk in ways that do not rely on legs, but on light. Yes, light. because the Word says, Thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. Psalm 119:105. And what does that mean? It means that even when your physical steps are limited, your direction is not. The path of the righteous is not defined by muscle or bone, it is defined by obedience. And in this season of your life, obedience looks different. It looks quieter. It looks simpler, but it is no less powerful. You are learning to lead not by force, but by presence. You are learning to influence not with volume, but with weight. And there is a weight to your words now, a weight to your silence, a weight to your presence in the room. That weight is called glory. It's what rests on those who have walked with God long enough to stop needing to be noticed. Now hear this. When you walk less in the flesh, you are often being called to walk more in the Spirit, to intercede more, to see more, to listen more. You become less reactive and more reflective. You stop chasing answers and start carrying wisdom, and people will begin to come to you not because you have everything figured out, but because your stillness reveals their storm. You've become a mirror that doesn't lie, a mirror that shows people who they truly are. And not everyone will like what they see when they stand near you. Some will be drawn to it, and others will flee from it. That's okay. You are not here to please the crowd. You are here to reflect the kingdom, and that kingdom is not shaken by age or time or physical strength. That kingdom is eternal. So walk in peace, walk in reverence, walk in the Spirit, and let every step, whether physical or spiritual, become a sermon the world cannot ignore. Because here is the truth. Every wrinkle on your skin is a line of poetry heaven has written. Every slowed movement is a deeper beat in the rhythm of your spiritual dance. Every silent prayer you've whispered in the quiet of your home has echoed louder in heaven than 1,000 shouted sermons. This is your hour not to retreat, but to reign differently. Because when the world says you're walking less, the Spirit says you're walking deeper. And the deeper walk always leads to the higher place. Now rise, not with your feet, but with your faith, because your next step, though unseen by man, will shake the heavens. There comes a moment, subtle, almost imperceptible, when the Spirit whispers a truth the body has been too distracted to hear. That comfort, if left unchecked, becomes captivity. We don't always see it happen. It's not marked by loud alarms or sudden disruptions. No, it slips in gently, wrapping around the soul like a soft blanket. It feels good. It feels earned. And yet, slowly, almost silently, it begins to dull the edge of our purpose. That's the hidden danger of unchecked comfort. It convinces us that the absence of pain is the same as the presence of peace. But peace, true peace, is not passive. It is forged. It is fought for. It is protected. And if you're not careful, you will begin to build a home in a place you were only meant to pass through. Comfort has its place, yes. But when comfort replaces calling, we lose our edge. We stop climbing. We stop pressing. We stop listening. And here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. The divine rarely speaks in comfort zones. The voice of the Spirit doesn't echo in the places we've chosen for convenience. It speaks from the edge of trust, the edge of uncertainty, the edge of obedience, the place where your next step doesn't make sense. That is where the eternal begins to break through. Scripture reminds us of this. Abraham was called to leave everything he knew. Moses was called from the quiet hills of Midian back into the chaos of Egypt. Even Christ himself stepped from the heavenly into the human, from glory into the groaning. The sacred is often hidden in the uncomfortable. So why then do we think we'll hear heaven clearly while we remain nestled in predictability? This is not a rebuke, it's a wake-up. Because some of us have confused safety with sanctification. We've mistaken stillness for stagnation. And what we've called resting in God is, in reality, resisting growth. But growth is the gospel's rhythm. It is the mark of those who have encountered the divine and refused to stay the same. Growth disrupts. Growth stretches. Growth demands. The problem is not that we don't hear God. The problem is we've stopped putting ourselves in places where His voice is necessary. Why would God speak about walking on water if we never step out of the boat? Why would He whisper strategy if we're content with routine? Why would He reveal new glory if we're still living off old manna? There is a sound, holy, unmistakable, that only emerges when we are at the edge of ourselves. And some of you are feeling that divine pull right now. You can sense the discontent rising, but you haven't understood it. You thought something was wrong with you. You thought maybe you were losing your passion. But I came to tell you, it's not a problem, it's a calling. The tension you feel is not punishment, it's preparation. You are being summoned out of ease and into encounter. There's a cost, yes, there's always a cost. You may lose friends, you may lose applause, you may lose your rhythm, your routine, your plans. But you will gain clarity. You will gain revelation. You will gain a nearness to the presence of God that comfort could never provide. Don't be afraid of the disruption. Don't resist the restlessness. It is the mercy of heaven to unsettle you when you settle in a place too small for your assignment. The Spirit is calling. And He doesn't call you into chaos, but He often calls you through it. Because the journey to the holy is not paved with ease. It's marked by obedience. Obedience that walks when it doesn't see the road. Obedience that moves when it doesn't hear applause. Obedience that believes when it doesn't have all the answers. And here's the final truth, the one that echoes through generations of those who have dared to follow. If you want to carry glory, you must leave comfort. Not because God is cruel, but because He is too good to let you stay beneath your potential. He sees what's inside you. He knows what's waiting ahead. And He is too faithful to leave you in the shallow when the deep is calling. So, rise. Shake off the dust of your old excuses. Step out of the familiar and walk. Walk not in fear, but in fire. Because on the other side of your comfort is the clarity you've been praying for. And when you move in obedience, heaven moves with you. Now is the time, not tomorrow, not when it's easy. Now the edge is calling and glory is waiting. There is a stillness that precedes every storm and a silence that often falls just before divine clarity breaks through. But too many of us mistake that silence for absence. We misread the pause as punishment. We grow anxious in the delay, impatient in the waiting, convinced that if we do not hear a fresh word, then heaven has gone quiet. But here is what must be remembered with holy conviction. God is never silent without purpose. His silence is not a void, it is a weight. It carries substance. It is the hush before the unveiling, the whisper just before the shout. The truth is, revelation does not always arrive in thunder. Sometimes it comes in the discipline of stillness. Sometimes it is tucked inside obscurity, hidden in the slow work of unseen obedience. You may feel forgotten. You may feel delayed. But what feels like delay is often divine incubation. God is forming something in the depths of your soul that cannot be rushed. And what He forms in silence cannot be shaken by sound. This is where many lose heart. They equate motion with meaning. But movement without direction is noise. It is the spinning of wheels without traction, the dancing of shadows without light. And heaven is not interested in performance. Heaven waits for alignment. Heaven responds not to haste, but to hunger. The kind of hunger that chooses trust over timelines, faith over formulas, and intimacy over influence. Consider the desert seasons in Scripture. Not one of them was wasted. Moses spent 40 years in Midian, hidden and forgotten by man, but not by God. In that quiet place, he was being stripped of ego and equipped for glory. David was anointed in private and sent back to shepherd sheep, learning worship before warfare. Even Christ himself was led by the Spirit into the wilderness, where identity was tested before ministry began. The pattern is consistent. God hides what He intends to use. He conceals before He reveals. He prepares before He propels. So, if you find yourself in a season that feels barren, if the path seems unclear and the voices around you louder than the whisper within, take heart. You are not behind. You are not disqualified. You are not invisible to heaven. You are simply in process. And that process is sacred. The divine does not work on human clocks. Heaven does not operate according to trending schedules or urgent algorithms. God is not interested in popularity. He is invested in purity. And purity takes time. It takes the fire of refining. It takes the water of the Word washing over the soul. It takes surrender. It takes pruning. And pruning, though it cuts, is proof of fruitfulness. For He only prunes what He plans to multiply. So let Him do the deep work. Let Him rearrange the inner architecture of your heart. Let Him uproot every false identity, every counterfeit comfort, every idol you've built to replace intimacy. Let Him cleanse the lens through which you've been seeing your life, your relationships, your purpose. Because when clarity comes, it will not flatter. It will free. There is a reason He hasn't opened certain doors yet. It's not to punish you. It's to protect you. It's to prepare you, so that when the door opens, you don't walk through it in flesh, but in fire, burning with purpose, grounded in truth, unmoved by applause, and anchored in identity. Some of you are being called to let go of the shallow. You've tasted it and found it unsatisfying, and now the deeper calls. You sense it. You feel the invitation echoing in your spirit. It's not loud, but it's persistent. It's not flashy, but it's holy. And if you ignore it, you'll settle for a version of life that is safe, but not sacred. But if you respond, if you yield, if you let Him take you deeper, further, higher than your plans ever dared to go, you will see the glory of God unfold in ways your mind cannot fathom. This is not the season to shrink. It's the season to surrender. He is aligning your steps. He is fine-tuning your ears. He is clearing the clutter so you can see Him rightly and respond fully. There's a rhythm to His instruction, and it's not rushed. It's precise. It's prophetic. And it's pulling you out of performance and into presence. So don't mistake His silence for stillness. Don't misread your wilderness as waste. You are not forgotten. You are being forged. And when you emerge, you will not just carry a message. You will become one. Walk slowly, listen deeply, obey fully. For the next movement of your life will not be built by striving, but by surrender. And when the world asks where you've been, you'll say, I was hidden in the hand of God, being prepared to reveal His glory. There comes a moment in every journey, quiet and often unmarked, when the soul must confront a simple yet shattering truth. You cannot take everyone with you. The path narrows, the light sharpens, and you begin to see not with natural eyes but with spiritual clarity. You begin to realize that growth demands shedding and elevation demands separation, not out of arrogance, but out of alignment. Because destiny has a sound, and not everyone is tuned to hear it. Too often we confuse loyalty with legacy. We hold on to connections that once served us, once made sense, once felt safe, but now serve only as anchors in the waters we were meant to rise above. And God, in His mercy, will begin to expose the quiet dissonance. You'll start to feel it in conversations that no longer feed your spirit. You'll sense it in atmospheres that once comforted you, but now leave you heavy. You'll hear it in the silence that follows your obedience, a silence not of punishment, but of pruning. This is not about rejection. It's about refinement. Some connections were only assigned to a season, not your life. And when the season ends, their presence becomes resistance. You'll feel it in your spirit before you can explain it in your mind. And the longer you delay obedience, the louder the dissonance grows. Heaven does not negotiate with comfort zones. Abraham was told to leave his country, his people, and his father's household. Why? Because God knew that the new covenant He was about to establish required Abraham to walk free of every familiar voice that might distort the promise. Lot wasn't part of the original instruction. Lot was added from emotion, not revelation. And it wasn't until Lot separated that God spoke again with clarity. What does that teach us? Some divine instructions go silent until the unnecessary attachments are removed. And we must understand, letting go doesn't mean dishonor. It means discernment. It means you trust the whisper of the Spirit more than the comfort of the crowd. It means you recognize that divine momentum is often born in moments of deep isolation. Elijah called down fire on Mount Carmel, but it was in the cave where he heard the still small voice. Jesus fed the 5,000, but he chose the wilderness to commune with the Father. The crowd may cheer your miracles, but they cannot discern your mandate. There will be moments where obedience will make you look foolish, where obedience will cost you proximity to people you love. But peace is never the product of public approval. It is the fruit of private obedience. And there is no shortcut around this truth. Every higher place with God comes with a cost. That cost is rarely financial. It is relational, positional, emotional. You will be required to lay down what you thought you needed in order to become who you truly are. And here is the prophetic warning. If you insist on dragging old alignments into new assignments, the oil will stop flowing. You will sense it in the dryness of your prayer life, in the weight of delayed promises, in the repeated cycles of frustration, not because God is withholding, but because He is waiting for your yes, your full yes, not a convenient yes, not a crowd-approved yes, but the kind of yes that cuts, the kind of yes that leaves the 99 to pursue the one calling your name in the quiet. There is no more time for halfway obedience, no more time to keep one foot in Egypt and the other in the wilderness. The fire on the altar must be fed with sacrifice. And the altar is not a stage, it is a lifestyle. It is built in hidden places, forged through silent tears and private decisions that no one claps for. but heaven records. You are not being called to blend in. You're being set apart. And that means not everyone can walk where you're going. That means not everyone can speak into your next. That means your yes may offend some, but it will please the one. And when the dust settles, and the crowd fades, and the applause dies down, that one is all that matters. So, if your spirit has been restless, if your nights have been filled with questions, if your peace has been disrupted by a quiet urging to shift, realign, release, don't ignore it. That's not anxiety. That's acceleration. That's not fear. That's fire. And it's burning away what cannot come with you into the next. You were not made for the crowd. You were made for the cloud. And the cloud is moving. Follow it, even if you must go alone. Because on the other side of your obedience is not just destiny. It's divine fulfillment. The kind that makes you whole again. The kind that sets captives free through your story. The kind that carries the weight of heaven with every step you take. Some doors only open when you finally walk alone.